Hi, welcome to my tiny kitchen. Today is going to be part 1 of 3 for how to make your very own gluten-free sourdough bread. Today we're going to start with the starter. This is your starter. We had some technical difficulties, so it's already mixed together. But what this is half a cup of brown rice flour and half a cup of room temperature water. You can see it's fairly soupy. Once you mix your starter together, what you're going to do is set it aside for a week. And I'm going to be covering my bowl with this wax wrap. I make them with just regular cotton and beeswax. Now, normally with one of these, you would just seal it. Do not seal your starter with saran wrap. Just loosely cover it like this. You can even crimp it. Put a loose lid on it. You want airflow because without airflow, it'll mold, it will do all sorts of nasty things. Another thing you can do is you can pour it from the bowl into a mason jar like this. You're going to get rid of this part of the lid and you're going to use a small piece of fabric. After you pour the starter in, you can seal it like this and then just set it aside on your countertop. This would allow for airflow and to keep contaminants out. And that is how you make your starter. 3 times a day, you're going to want to feed your starter for the next week. You feed your starter by giving it half a cup of brown rice flour and half a cup to a fourth of a cup to half a cup of water, depending. And you just do that 3 times a day and then set it aside. Stir it up, set it aside. Feed it, set it aside. You might start to notice that your sourdough is going to have a smell kind of like eggs, and that's fine and normal. You're trying to capture wild yeast in your starter. If it starts to smell rancid or grows mold, that's when you're going to want to throw it out. Oh, another thing is it could start to separate. That's perfectly normal. Don't worry about that. Now, a word on gluten-free bread is that it's very finicky. It can be temperamental on the weather. It can be temperamental on the temperature of the ingredients you used. So I always try to cook with room temperature ingredients. I wanted to show you this bread. This is Bob's Red Mill Hearty Whole Grain. This is our family's go-to bread when we want to bake some bread, but we really don't want to go through the whole hassle of starting from scratch. On the side, you can see here that it slopes down right where it's cut. And I wanted to show you that because if you cut gluten-free bread before it cools down, it will deflate like that. So with gluten-free bread, you actually have to wait for it to cool down a lot before you dive into it. And I know a lot of people really like their warm bread, so it's kind of important to note, but I wanted to show you that beautiful cross section with all those grains. Yes, we'll be enjoying that very shortly. In our home, we make all of our, or most of our, it's been a long day, our flour. We have a mill called a Wonder Mill, and in it we can ground up brown rice, white rice, steel cut oats, and quinoa to make flour. And that saves a lot on gluten-free flours because they're so expensive. And this is how I store them, just simply in mason jars. And let's see, did I miss anything? I know I had a few questions. Let me know if there's any other questions that you have on how to start your starter, or other questions about gluten-free bread, but this would be your basic intro, and I'll see you again in a few days when we check on our starter. Remember, feed it 3 times a day, every day. Try to keep it around the same time that you feed it every single day as well. So when you get up in the morning, at lunch, and then right before bed. And thank you for visiting me. I'll see you soon. Shine on.